All right, here we go. All right. Hello, everybody. I am Brenda Williams, your host and founder of the Power of Girlhood and Visionary Empaths Unite. I work with mission-based entrepreneurs who have the empathic gifting so that they can use those gifts for mission-based businesses, for social justice, equity, and inclusion out in the world. And today I am joined by the founder of Pretty Black Queens. Is that correct? I want to make sure I'm getting that right.
Black Queen Empowerment.
Black Queen Empowerment, followed by the executive director, Lori Ward of Figure Skating in Detroit, and the incredible dynamo that is Lauren Godwin, who is at Spelman with a double major and is on the dean's list every single year and is just so invested in her community. She has decided to come back as not just an alum of the Power of Girlhood, but also as a board member, to which Summer also is a part of. And this is super important because we're at a space in our history that, particularly as Black women, women of color, we're at a crossroads now where we have made significant strides that we have to thank our ancestors for, but there's still so much more to go. And the reason why we're doing this, not just raising awareness through this summit and a portion of the proceeds going to the program, is legacy. We want to create legacy. And the way you do that is with the choices that you make today. So with that said, I want to pop this first question out, and anyone on the panel can answer it. When we say we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, what does that mean to you? When we say we stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, and anyone can take that one.
Mm-hmm. So I'll start. First, again, thank you, Brenda, for having me along with these dynamic, beautiful sisters. Truly appreciate this opportunity. Standing on the shoulders of our ancestors is loaded. It's loaded in terms of all the different elements and what we could take from it. For me, growing up in the 80s, understanding back then, a lot of the richness of our culture wasn't made known. It was purposely kind of either diluted, watered down, all means the same thing. But as once I became a full-fledged grown woman and really reading and learning about people who have had, years ago really treaded and, cleared the path for my generation and the generations after me to be great. Like greatness was already a part of who we were. And so standing on their shoulders is, first of all, to me means awareness, being aware that you're not alone and that this isn't something that just happened. We talk about Black girl magic. This didn't happen, this year or last year or in the last few years. It's been going on continuously, and it's up to us to learn our history, to really know the richness of our culture, no matter what your culture is, to know the richness of it and to respect it. And the best way to respect it is to honor it and utilize resources that were already given to us. They were already part of who we are in our DNA. And it's about being aware. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And Lauren or Summer, what does that mean to you? Well, both of you, I'd love to hear from both of you. So what does that mean?
For me, I like what she said, that it's loaded, because it's such a heavy statement. And for the work that I do, it's a statement that I think about 24/7. And I'm talking about the activism work. And with activism, you have to research the history. So you have to understand, okay, I'm doing Black Lives Matter, I'm saying Black Lives Matter. But then as I look at the history, Martin Luther King's era, back in the 1900s, before that, slavery, we were saying the same thing. We were fighting for the same exact thing. And so when I think about staying on the shoulders of our ancestors, it means, where did they go? What did they get done? And now where can I finish the fight for them? A lot of times when I was leading protests over the summer, yes, we had young people, the young generation, the millennials, but we had a lot of, our older generation coming out. And when they would get on the mic and speak, they would almost every single time, there was a lot of tears in their eyes, because they're like, it's just so empowering to see that the fight that we were doing and the movement that we were starting and the, you know, the chants that we were saying, we see our grandkids saying the same thing. I mean, my grandmother's telling me stories like, we, you know, we went through the same thing. My mother's saying we went through the same thing. So for me, it's like, even just in my generation, I'm seeing my grandmother and my mother, it's like, I have to finish the fight for them. So it's really just taking the knowledge that they left behind, the wisdom, because I mean, I'm telling you, we had some soldiers back in our day. I mean, they were powerful people, our ancestors. So taking the knowledge that they did and the work that they did and finishing that fight and continuing that fight too.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so funny that you say that, Summer, but like that's the same thing that my mom, you know, says to me about the movement, and even like a soundtrack to the movement. She was like, yeah, the artists were really involved back in the day, you know, the musicians were in it, like everybody, you know, took up, to champion civil rights, for our people. So it's one of those things that I feel like it's just in your DNA. You just have it, yeah. And
It
you
really
just keep
is.
going.
People always say like, how do I do this? Or how did you do? And I'm like, I don't even remember someone teaching me how to do something. It was just something that was ingrained in me. And people say that like, oh, my ancestors are leading me. And I'm like, I'm starting to really believe that's really the case, because even when I was a young girl, like I would stick up for anything that was not right. If I felt like, especially when it came to my people, Black people, I was very, very vocal about that. And I think it really does, it's in your DNA, it's who we are. I mean, we're great people, we're amazing people. You can call it whatever you want, but I think Black people are everything. And I'm not afraid to say that. And it just comes from the history of what we've been through and the fact that even through all that, in 2021, we're still shining. We're still making moves. We're still, being amazing in every avenue, business, education, etc. So, it's within us for sure.
Yeah. And I want to add real quick, Brenda, when you mentioned how back during the civil rights era, people with that platform used it for civil rights. It was almost an expectation. Whether you were a singer or actress, you had the Sidney Poitiers, and
That's right.
you know what I'm saying, and
Right.
and even non-Black people who had a platform that were for what was right, was speaking up. And I kind of see that, Summer, in your generation now, where the young people from your generation who are either entertainers, athletes, locally, like you are in the city, you're using that voice, using your following to do something, no matter how small or how large, you're doing something. And you probably feel a sense of accountability. Like there's something I can do, there's something I can say to influence other people toward the movement in a positive way. So I think we're back at that. So again, following, like you said, Summer, picking up where they left off, our ancestors left off, and following in those footsteps. It's incumbent upon us, and it is in us.
I say it's like we get the baton and you keep
Mm-hmm.
rolling and you run as fast as you can, and then you pass the baton, and then they run. It's like, and then when you can't run, the ancestors pick you up. Where you can't run, it's like, I'm gonna carry you where you can't run. So tell me, because all of us here have organizations that speak to girls of color, and so even with the Power of Girlhood program, so a third of our girls are Black, a third are Latina, and then another third are Arabic or Arabic speaking or Muslim girls. And I know for me, and I'll speak because Summer's also on the board too. When we had the old leadership and some of the disparaging remarks that were made, it was really hurtful, because I'm like, you were talking about my girls. And I think there's like a certain kinship that we have like with our girls. So if you can explain like why gender specific programming is so impactful.
Yeah. Well, one, I think it's relationship. And I think it's about who you can connect with. I try not to do this, but a woman can tell me the same thing a man told me, and I'm probably going to listen to the woman and not the man, because I understand that she's been through it before. I can relate to her. I understand that she's lived in my shoes before, so she's understanding what I may be going through. And I always say this, like, just because you have something that's specific to one doesn't discredit someone else. So just because we say, oh, this is just for our girls, it doesn't mean that we think less of any other gender or race or anything like that. But we know we're focusing on something that's very important and vital, because we have women that are going to go through what our young girls are going through. And we are able to relate to them. And so we can give them knowledge that sometimes other people can't give them. And so it's really important for them. And I just remember when I was younger, not always having that around. I had my mother, which is great. But my mother's not around me 24/7. So sometimes it was hard to just connect, like, who's a woman I can go to for advice, for leadership skills, for X, Y, and Z. And I didn't always have that around. So having those gender specific programs are very, very vital, so that they can, really be in a safe space as well too. There may be some things they don't want to share with other people except for women, so it's very important that we have that safe space for them to connect.
Yeah, Lori. So what have you seen in your observation, being, an
Yeah.
ED and having gone through, the community of sorority? Because if I'm not mistaken, you're a Delta.
I am.
And yeah. So, having that sisterhood and being in community that way, what do you see that makes this just so vital and priceless?
Well, historically, women have, in some cases, more than not, been looked as the lesser of the sexes, so women over time have had to fight their way to be heard, to be counted, to be valued, more than just, one thing. And that one thing could be housewife. And I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and it is hard work. So I feel like a woman voice, no matter what aspect of life she chooses to go into, whether it's I want to be at home wife, mom, or I want to be a career, I want to do both. I want to be a professor, a doctor, a teacher, I want to be a homemaker, whatever, entrepreneur, that our voice matters and it shouldn't be less than. And like you said, Summer, it doesn't devalue the other sex. So, for example, we don't devalue men because we want to be strong and have our voices heard. I mean, we all have our roles in life. And so I see the power of gender specific organizations, programs such as for females, that's why we're all here, is huge, because those younger girls see themselves in us. And if they can't see themselves in us, then they make it up. They make it up. They don't have a blueprint, so they're gonna make it up. And that's gonna allow for unnecessary errors and tragedies that probably would not have to happen. We know things happen, but some of that stuff, the young girls, for example, in my organization, Figure Skate in Detroit, the little girls that are coming up now, and they're able to see our young Black coaches and teachers and mentors, they're fearless. They don't know anything else. No one has showed them that they can't do it. So the power of having that, to be able to visualize, be able to talk to, it creates so much confidence. No matter what area you go into, you don't have to ever lace up a pair of skates again. But that confidence that you gain from your interaction and being able to see yourselves in these women will help you in whatever avenue you choose to go into in life. So it's very important, those relationships, that the partnerships, all of those things help to create that confidence and that sense of self-worth. Like, okay, I could do that, and pride, just like with our vice president, Kamala Harris. These little girls growing up seeing that, you're not gonna be able to tell them they can't do it,
Nothing.
no matter what it is, because they see it. And if you see it, you truly can be it. You know what I mean? And so seeing is believing, believing is seeing. Seeing that is huge.
Yeah, yeah. And Lauren, what are your thoughts? So, you have been a leader as long as I have known you, and we're just talking about the power of community. Why, your observation as to why being in community, with other girls, those who are female identified, why is that so powerful to you?
Yeah, well, being at Spelman has definitely showed me the power of being in a single gendered space. Just stepping on campus and just feeling the feminine presence, like it's like no other. And like Lori said, just being able to visualize in the relationship, I think is the best part, because not only, younger women and girls can see older women and girls, succeeding and visualize that, but the peer on peer relationships within single gender communities, I feel like are probably the most motivating, because you're around like-minded people. You get to see different versions of what you could be, or different versions of what a Black girl could be, or what a girl could be in general. And I think that helps girls specifically, especially younger girls, kind of see more for themselves than what they see in the media or what they see on TV. They can really see it in person in a multitude of people, and I think that really helps in single gender spaces as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just so powerful and exciting, especially to hear Lauren and Summer speak. It's like, oh my goodness, like it just makes me so excited to hear both of you speak about the future and what's possible. And I believe, I'll speak for myself, but Laura, you probably feel this way too. Like when you see them, it kind of gives you that added fuel to just keep going. It's like, okay, yeah, I got my second win.
Yes, I know I'm in the right area of life. This purpose that I'm living means something. When I hear these young queens talking, it's huge.
Huge,
Mhm.
huge. And so that leads me to my next question: purpose. How is it being in community? How does that support your sense of purpose and self-worth, being in a community or girlhood or figure skating in Detroit?
I will speak on this because I had this battle with myself, because passion and purpose are very different. You
Mm.
know, passion, I think, is something that you want to do. So, and a lot of people don't know this, but my first major in college was fashion design. And anybody would tell you, since birth up to my first year in college, I said I was going to be a fashion designer. Everybody told me you should be a teacher. I said, y'all are crazy. You don't know me. I'm going to be a fashion designer. The first semester I dropped out. I said, this isn't it. And then I ended up working with kids. And the thing about passion or purpose is that I feel like purpose is what you're called to do. And it's your purpose when everything starts aligning. So as soon as I walked into the field of education, I started meeting other educators. I started meeting people who were saying, you're really great at what you do. I'll invest in your college. How many years do you have left? Okay, well, here's a scholarship. Can you apply for it? I would get the scholarship. So things started lining up for me. And I said, okay, I'm definitely walking in purpose. And both of my purposes, the activism and the education, found me. Like I wasn't out looking for it. They found me. And so I think, you're walking in purpose when everything around you just aligns. And one thing about my purpose is I ended up joining a pageant, and I have friends who still call me Miss Michigan. And I kind of hate it because I'm like, it's over. That was the past. But I did do a pageant and I ended up winning. But I was not interested in pageantry, but the one thing that I took from that was that sisterhood. There were so many women who were so powerful. To the point where I was like, I can't believe that I even won this title, because it was so many women who were there was somebody who was working on cancer research. There was another woman who was in the army. I was meeting so many amazing women. Had so many connections with people who were just doing amazing things. And when you are in a community like that, it fuels you. You're just like, I want to do more. I have to do more. You're able to call on people when things get tough. I met so many other teachers when I was doing pageants who, I'm like, okay, if this is happening in my classroom, if this is happening in your classroom, and we're able to connect with each other. So walking in that purpose and being surrounded by people who have the same purpose as you is very fulfilling. And it just helps you to keep going, because like I said, purpose may not be what you want to do, it's what you're caused to do, but then you have people around you who can support you and keep you going when times get tough.
I love that. I love that.
Mhm.
Miss Lauren, what do you have on purpose?
Well, I was gonna say, for me, I'm kind of still on my purpose journey, trying to figure out, exactly what that is, that my calling is. And I definitely agree with what Summer said. Passion is what you want to do, purpose is what you're called to do. And for me, I feel like community, seeing other people, go towards their purpose and, really work towards their purpose and what they're called to do and stay disciplined in it, kind of helps me to stay focused on, my journey and my path as well. It's that motivation factor again, just seeing, my sisters, so strong-willed and so determined to fulfill their purpose kind of fuels me and adds fuel to that fire. So I definitely agree with what Summer said for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think that is so important that, of course, in the Power Girl, we don't discriminate. We welcome every young woman, girl, those who are female identified. We don't care what your religious preference is, but it sounds like what I'm hearing you all say, like purpose and light. It's like it's bigger than you, something bigger than you finds you and guides you. And you might go kicking and screaming, but it finds you and it kind of carries, you. And maybe passion might be something that gets your attention, but the purpose is the thing that is driving you, that's leading you. And I'm just like, wow, just listening to you. So, I just want to, before we close, we have this amazing summit that's happening next, this Monday. I can't believe it's Monday already.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think that is super important, whether you have children or not, is to invest in the next generation. And whether, for those of you who are listening, whether you have a business or not, maybe this is something you want to gift your entrepreneurial friend. Because again, as you're hearing and seeing, when you see it, you can be it. And so when you can see a demonstration, so like for me growing up, one of my favorite people to watch was Alicia Rashad. I just thought she was so classy and just amazing. Debbie Allen, the triple threat. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I also liked Grace Jones too. I don't know why, but she just seems so free to me, like just free to be herself. And at like 70 something years old, she's wearing a bathing suit and a hoop. And I'm like, yes. And I'm like, wow. And I don't know where I would be if I didn't have versions or examples to look at. And now even, at 40, I still see such inspiration with like the founders of the Black Lives Matter movement. I know like we're contemporaries, but it's still like, wow, sis, like you decided to just found a whole organization. Like you just did. And now I look at how these chapters are all across the country and dare I say the world. Like you started that, like that started from Black women coming together for a common cause and say, yes, I do mind us dying. And I'm going to do something about it. And I'm going to use my voice. I just think that's so inspiring. And, Lori, work on your girls, just being able to be their coach, just what I hear them. They're so wise. They're so wise. And we think things get past them. Look, nothing gets.
Yeah.
They see
right.
everything.
Yes.
They're so observant. So it's just so inspiring, to see, just see us in action, to see us living and being. And so, as we close, ladies, just want you all to reflect. If you had to give your younger self, and let's even say your 15-year-old self, think about where you were at 15. What would you say to your 15-year-old self?
To my 15-year-old self, I would say, speak up, let them hear you. You got something to say? I can't tell you, to my younger sisters on this video, how many times I shied away from speaking up or saying what I thought or being heard just because, I don't know, I didn't have a lot of role models around in that aspect, or no one really kind of, girl, you could do it, you can do it. Versus, once I do something, a lot of the accolades came from grades. Oh, you got an A, good job. So that became important, just studying, getting good grades, not really speaking up and being heard, and the value of that. Because when you dim your light, you don't know who you could be impacting that you're not now, and it's not fair. Like, shame on you. You got this God-given talent, and you're not sharing it in some way, shape, or form. So I would tell my 15-year-old self, get ready. You have something to say, stand up, be proud, speak up, let them hear you, let your light shine. There's nothing wrong with that. Your goal, you put on this earth to impact. We talk about legacy. This is how you do it. You got to stand up, let your voice be heard, let your talent, whatever that may be, shine, and be proud of that. So that's what I would tell myself.
That's amazing. Thank you. Summer, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Something very similar. So growing up, in high school, I never wanted to ruffle feathers. I didn't want to do that.
Mm,
I would stick up for people if I saw something wrong, but at the same time, I feel like I didn't say a lot of things that needed to be said. And so, and another thing I would always do was, downplay a lot of situations that I knew, like, if the first thought that came to your mind, it is what it is. You're not overthinking anything. You're not second guessing, like, that's exactly what it was. So, the disrespect or just anything that it was, I would be like, oh, you know what? Maybe they didn't mean it like that, but they definitely did. So, I definitely would tell myself to, stick to my gut and to speak up. Like what she said, literally speak up. Like, don't feel like you have to just be so reserved and feel like you can't say anything and you don't want to get in trouble in school. Like, sometimes you have to make a little noise to be heard.
mhm.
I learned that, in my early 20s, but I definitely wish I could have taken that advice in high school because high school is a jungle. It's a jungle, and I feel like there are a lot of things that high schoolers are afraid to say because we're afraid we're gonna get in trouble or we don't want to rock the boat. But speak up, like it's okay. And I'm now telling that to high school students. I'm like, say something, speak up. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Be powerful because you already have that power within you. It doesn't come when you turn 18 or you have it now. It's within you. So
I love that. Lauren, what would you tell your 15-year-old self?
Well, the same thing both of you beautiful ladies said, of course, but also I would say definitely tell myself that growth comes from being uncomfortable. High school was really where I found like my comfort places. Like I cheered and I went to school. And those two things were comfort for me. That's all I did. And after graduating from high school, it was like, okay, now I'm uncomfortable. And because I had been comfortable for so long and only stuck to what I was comfortable with for so long, being uncomfortable was such an unfamiliar territory that I was like, what is this? I want to get out. But it was in that uncomfortable place where I got the information that I needed and where I grew how I needed to grow. So definitely, if anything, I would tell myself it's okay to be uncomfortable. If anything, look for that place of discomfort to where you will be able to learn and shine for sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
That's all I can say is just
Yep.
wow. Wow, 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 wow. Just sisters, keep going. That's all I can say. Y'all just keep going. Take this baton. There's a community out here that believes in your work and what you're doing. I believe, I know Lori believes, like we're like
Yes. Yes.
yes, just keep going. And I will close with this. I know for sure, um, with my 15-year-old, so I definitely would have told her, take more risk. Like just jump.
Mhm.
Don't worry about the net, girl. You can grow wings and you can fly. So you will be just fine. Just jump, just do it and be heard. I love that. And yes, and the growth and the discomfort, it's all part of how we express and how we grow is in the discomfort. So with that, I just want to thank you ladies so much. I want to encourage everyone to please get your ticket, gift someone
Mhm.
with the gift of this summit because we have 16 amazing experts that are coming from different disciplines, backgrounds, and this is what makes the world so rich. And so we call it the new earth because essentially we want to aim high and root deep so that we can bring heaven to earth. And I know we can do that when we love up on and we take care of each other and show the brilliance, just reflect it back and be there. It's like sis, I know it's uncomfortable, but come on, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it anyway. Just keep going, we're gonna do it anyway. Because we are our ancestors' wildest dreams come true. I mean, some of the things I remember when my grandmother, rest her soul, she saw Barack Obama get She thought she would never see that. And she was like emotional about it. And when you think about being, she was born in 1915. So like just on the other side of emancipation.
Yes.
Right. So that's not even 50 years after, 65. And, looking at my grandfather's people, they were purchased in 1869 when slavery was technically abolished. So Juneteenth, like that's a thing. Like they didn't announce like, hey, you're free now.
Right.
So my ancestors were in some cases purchased even after slavery was technically abolished. So just the Constitution that we have as people just always leaves me in such awe, because we're the ascendants, because we're rising of those who made it through the Middle Passage. So there was something in the DNA that said like, oh, you gonna make it. We gonna make sure that you make it. And here we are. So please invest in the next generation, because figure skating in Detroit, ice skating is a very expensive sport. It's very expensive, very competitive, and they deserve to be on the ice. And it's so much more than that. There's enrichment, there's tutoring, leadership, STEAM, and so much. And with the power of girlhood, these amazing young women who are, Lauren went through the program and I was sitting on the board. I'm like, okay, sis. And, some are out here fighting a revolution. Let's go. I'm so moved. And, we have a podcast coming, a magazine. And so, Lori, before we close, let's talk a little bit about, you're an executive director, I'm an executive director, and we look at things like grants, just talking shop for a minute, how competitive they are. But what are some of the reasons that you feel that collaborations are just so vital, even beyond what you can put in an application? What does it do to the vitality of the organization?
Well, it takes it to another level because it says that you understand the power of community. And the power of community is rooted in partnerships and relationships, and how I can impact girls. Brenda, you can impact girls, but we can impact a lot more together, and bringing our talents, our time, our gifts together for our girls and all of us. And so the power of those partnerships are huge. And anybody that wants to fund or support nonprofit organizations or organizations, period, one of the things that stick out to them and says, oh, you're worth your salt, is the fact that you understand the power of partnerships and community and building legacy. You don't build legacy just sitting somewhere by yourself, hoarding all of your talents. And so I love the whole concept of partnerships and how we're able to impact and take impact to another level working together. And as you said, Brenda, you joining our team to be the leadership coach is really opening other doors with our girls being able to benefit from the power of girlhood, what you have to offer. And so it's huge. So that's our goal, is to impact and impact together. That's how you really build community and legacy.
Yeah. So please consider your VIP upgrade, and just, as you witness here and you're listening to this, share this video with others, invite other people in, to this conversation about, allyship and being a co-inspirator. This is real. Lives are depending on not just what you say, but what you do. And you can tell your value by what you spend your money on. So you can open up your bank statement. And if you want to see what you really value, start looking at where you have put your money. Start looking at where you have put your time and where you have put your talent. And that'll tell you like, yay, this is what I say I believe and what I actually believe are congruent. So just want to put that out there. Are you being congruent? Because right now we're in a space where we're in a reset. And so when this is up and over, when this COVID thing is over, I pray that systemic racism and oppression and gender bias is not. I hope that is no longer. the order of the day. Discrimination on who we love and access to water.
Yes.
I hope a lot of those things that have been plaguing us as a humanity, those go away. And it might be ambitious, but that's my prayer, is that those things go away when we emerge from this, that there's a better earth than the one that happened in 2020. March 13th is when the clock stopped here in Detroit.
Yep.
I don't want to go back to that world.
Right.
I want to go to a better one. But I know it starts with the choices that we make now. So please invest in this, because it is so vital that our girls know that they are loved and that they're valued. So ladies, thank you all so much for being here this evening. I know you all are super busy, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Having it.
All right. So have a great evening, day, or wherever it is that you are in the world. And this is Brenda Williams. I bid you all adieu, and I'll see you all starting Monday.